Excellent. It's very nice to be here with you today. We'll talk about cities and what we can do to make our cities both more sustainable and more livable. As personal background, I studied mechanical engineering, then started, worked in management and small-scale industries, and then moved into an investment banking role. I took that finance, strategy, and operations experience into the non-profit sector, thinking I would do impact investing, but really ended up working very, very closely with amazing, amazing people in non-profit organizations. What started as work on toilets, how do we make toilets accessible to women in Indian slums, from a health perspective, from a dignity, a safety perspective, took me into work in wastewater treatment and management, which then took me into solid waste management, and then into looking at cities as a system, as a collective of various systems, various people, various use cases. And then the conversation moved to how do we make cities more livable, how do we make them more sustainable, and including issues around climate change and resilience and adaptation. Leap Cities, as she said, grew out of this experience of working with various organizations and issues and saying how can we help businesses, growth stage businesses that have got excellent products, excellent ideas, how do we help them to maximize their impact over a long period of time. Now, in all this, I realized that the social sector had one problem. It actually did not interact with a lot of citizens. And therefore, this whole idea that the social sector and citizens need to come together into a more symbiotic, into a more understanding relationship in order to create a better world, led to the idea behind the Mumbai Doughnut CoLAB, which I'll talk a little bit about. And then finally, obviously we are not just our professional careers. I became a father in 2007. Our son had developed some health problems due to a vaccine that he had. The only solution we were told to resolve it is to try Reiki, which is an energy-based healing modality, a lot of woo-woo science. We said, what is this nonsense? How do you put a hand on somebody and have some thoughts and you feel better? But it worked. That got into a long-term or a longer and a much more detailed understanding of Vedanta and Buddhism and so on. And that built my spiritual perspective on everything in life. And based on that, what I will claim, and I will try to show today a little bit, is that true sustainability really is a spiritual journey. Okay, we can talk about finance, technology, products, behavior change, policy, all that stuff, but till we don't fix the basics, we are not going to get anywhere fast. Okay, now when you see this, the bullseye here is the economy, right? We all talk about the economy, extremely important, gets a lot of attention. You all will probably go out and work in the economy, largely through businesses. The government talks about economy because they should show GDP growth. But what this shows is the economy is actually a small subset of society, right? If you don't have a healthy and strong society, you cannot have a healthy and strong economy. And society itself sits within the environment. For hundreds of years or thousands of years, or maybe the past few hundred years especially, the environment has been very kind to us. So we have kind of forgotten that the environment is there. We are focused on the economy, on the technology, on building stuff, taking resources from the earth, putting out garbage into the air and into the water and into the soil, and it's been okay. But it seems like that is breaking down today. So now we talk about climate change, we talk about sustainability, because we're realizing that really it is the environment which enables all of us to survive and not the economy. You got no economy if you don't have an environment. You got no society if you don't have the environment. And therefore, sustainability has to mean sustainability for all three. Okay, it can't be just about the environment. It can't be just about the economy. It cannot be just about society. What is that balance? Where do we all end up where everything is balanced and in some form of healthy, happy, productive equilibrium is what we need to find. Now, this is what Mumbai looks like, very high level. I've lived in Mumbai almost my whole life, except for a few years away. It is the 17th richest city in the world. Not bad, all right? Yet it offers a quality of life that is ranked at 121. More than half the population lives in slums, and I would say it ranks number one when it comes to dirt, filth, and pollution. Air pollution, noise pollution, water pollution, and obviously, yeah. Now the thing is that we have got tremendous potential. We've also got huge problems. And the question that I ask myself, and I urge all of you to ask, is can we do better? I think the answer very clearly is yes, we can do better. So how do we do better? This is the Doughnut Economics model. I came across it several years ago. The beauty of it is that it's being used globally. It was developed by Professor Kate Raworth at Oxford University. Now, the beauty is that it brings two very important things together. Actually, it brings all three, the environment, society, and the economy. Now, what you have here is, in the center, you have 12 basic needs that everyone has to live a decent quality of life. So you have food, water, housing, transportation, livelihoods, electricity, political rights, social equality, healthcare, education, everything that you would need to have a decent quality of life. On the outside, what you have are 9 environmental boundaries or ceilings. Ocean pollution, heat island effect and global warming, biodiversity loss, solid waste, chemical pollution, water bodies, air pollution, noise pollution, and so on. Now, the trick is that how do you provide these to people? How can we have all of this without exceeding these, right? We all want these things. We want the economy to grow. We want to have more housing. We want to have more transportation, more jobs, more AI, more electricity, more everything. But there's a cost that we are paying. So the question is, how can Mumbai provide the social foundations to all residents without exceeding the environmental ceilings or staying within it? And when you're able to meet these needs without exceeding these, you find yourself in the middle, which she calls a zone of sustainable prosperity, and it looks like a donut or a medu vada or whatever. And therefore, it's called Doughnut Economics. Okay? Now, what this means is that there are choices we have to make. All right? We can't have it all. If everyone wants a 3,000 square foot home with 8 air conditioners, Italian marble, and so on, the earth is going to die before we can meet those needs, right? Ain't going to happen. So we have got choices to make. And that's what we try and think about, all those who are using things like Doughnut Economics and say, what are the choices we need to make so we can have a good quality of life without ruining the environment, without ruining the earth, because that's not going to affect the future generations. It's actually affecting us today. The air pollution is hurting us today. It's not a future problem, okay? And therefore, what are the trade-offs you have to make in pursuing these goals? Now, this is just a small little example. One can go very deep into it. I'm sorry for what I'm going to do to you with this slide. But here are some of the things you want to achieve as a sustainable city. You want to reduce your water usage. You want to reduce the wastewater that you're releasing into the environment so we can have clean rivers and lakes and water bodies. Of course, you want to reduce carbon emissions. We have a little bit of a carbon focus, carbon mania, carbon, I think we're blinded by this carbon issue. It's important, but not the only thing that matters. So we want to reduce carbon emissions from cars, industry, solid waste management, etc. We also want to reduce other hazardous chemical pollutions that come from these sources. We want to reduce the amount of electricity we use, and we want to maximize the amount of clean energy we can replace it with. And of course, we want to increase the sequestration of carbon and air pollution, right? So we want to reduce and increase the right things so we get that balance that we are looking for. Now, some of the solutions could be, for example, water. You can build a new dam 200 kilometers away, which is what we want to do, or spend thousands of crores on desalination plants to serve a city like Mumbai. Or we can say, look, why don't we treat our wastewater and reuse literally 100% of it for all kinds of applications, right? Today, you've got technology. We can take sewage and make it drinking water. Okay? It costs some money, but the overall cost, while it may sound like more, when you take the environmental destruction, it's actually far cheaper to even do that than to be building dams 200 kilometers away and messing about with ecological balances, because we just don't know what impact those sort of actions have. We can't even understand it today. We may realize it 50 years from now. So when you do wastewater treatment and reuse, you reduce your water usage because you're not taking fresh water. You reduce the wastewater that we're releasing into the environment, which causes pollution, and you can't go swimming on the beaches of Mumbai, although we've got beautiful sea coast. You reduce electricity use because nature-based solutions use a lot less energy than machines and motors. And then you also sequester carbon because the nature-based wastewater treatment systems actually are plants and trees and so on. Okay? We need 15,000 air-conditioned buses in Mumbai. Now people say, oh, air conditioning is bad for the environment. I said, yes, but if 15,000 AC buses can replace 200,000 vehicles on the road, your net, you're going to be far better off. And you'll convince people, because of the air conditioning and the comfort, you'll convince people to give up their cars and Olas and Ubers and actually take a bus, right? It'll be better than rickshaws. So net, you're going to be environmentally better off. And don't the poor people who can't afford an AC car or taxi, should they be traveling in that heat, in that rain? I mean, this is the best we can offer to people when we're the 17th richest city in the world, right? And you get, therefore, carbon emissions come down. And you also get other chemicals, because we're not just releasing carbon when we burn fossil fuels, we're releasing nitrous oxides and sulfur oxides and lead and arsenic and so on, which, believe me, have got a far more negative health impact than all the PM 2.5 and PM 10 that we talk about as well, right? A lot of our health problem is not coming from PM 10 and PM 2.5. Of course, it depends on what that PM 2.5 is, the AQI that we see. A AQI of 200 and an AQI of 200 are not necessarily the same. It's like just if I give you 2 drops, if I give you 2 poisons, and I say 1 gram of this poison, 1 gram of this one may give you an allergy, this one will kill you. Okay, so 1 gram of poison means nothing. AQI of 200 means nothing until you know what is in that 200. And that could be either destroying your lungs and giving you cancer down the road, or it could just be a cold cough and an irritating throat. Okay, so this language we need to be clearer about. Similarly, when we create more green spaces, and imagine now, we build, now people say there's no land in Bombay. I say firstly wrong, I'll show you the next slide. But we are creating new land all the time for living, for working, and for driving. Right? We create multi-story buildings, we are creating flyovers, tunnels, that's creating new land. Why aren't we doing that for green spaces? Why aren't we doing that for urban farms? Can we build a terrace over parking lots? And even Western Express Highway could have a terrace over it, and you could have kilometers long urban farms, which would give you much fresher food, healthier food, grown right in the city, lower carbon footprint, zero wastage. You could have gardens up there for recreation and for noise pollution, air pollution management, etc. This is about imagination. Can we have a zero landfill city, which again has lower emissions, lower energy, and could every new building be made with brick walls, made with mud brick if possible, but definitely designed to be, I think every building should be better than LEED Platinum standards, which are energy efficiency, water efficiency, and so on. Because when we make a building, we are locking in 50 to 70 years of resource use the day it is designed, right? The water usage and the recycling, the energy, not just the embedded carbon, but even the energy usage, it's just decided the day you design and build that building. And today, knowing what we know about climate change and sustainability is ridiculous the way we build it. Anyway, just moving little to close the circle at a personal level, we can be happier by consuming less. It is bullshit that we've been fed, that we need more income and more stuff to be happier. If you refuse stuff, it is better than reducing stuff, which is better than reusing, and that is better than recycling. Now, we all talk about recycling, but there are many other things we can do before we even reach the recycling stage, which are much better for our own personal lives and definitely much, much better for our society and the environment. We are not just consumers, we are citizens. Okay? Consumers just take stuff from the market and then throw out rubbish. As citizens, we have a voice, we have choices to make. Some of us exercised it yesterday, I hope. But the more we can exercise an intelligent voice as citizens, the better the society we get, the more sustainable a world we get. We are also not just employees, we are human beings. You may or may not work in ESG or sustainability, but I think in time, ESG will become a part of every job function. Whether you're in finance, you're in manufacturing, you're in supply chain, you're in logistics, you're in whichever sector you're in, you can do your job in a way that makes it more sustainable and better for others and the environment rather than worse. I would say we don't have a poly crisis. People say there's a poly crisis, so many mental health, climate, blah, blah, blah. If we take the position that we are all interdependent and we are not independent, and for that I would say if you think about today, you're having a nice evening today, if you think about how many people were responsible from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to make today possible, literally millions or billions of people have made today a safe, enjoyable day for each of us. Right? The way we got here, the clothes we are wearing, the room we are in, the air conditioning we use, the data network we are on. Billions of people touch our lives each and every day, whether we like it or not, whether we know them or not. Despite that, if we think we are independent, I think we are delusional. Okay? We are interdependent much more than we are independent. Now, we will solve all problems, including the climate crisis, the day we understand this and the day we behave like we truly understand this simple point. We are interdependent, we are not independent, and therefore, well, this breaks the flow. GDP, is that a good growth for us? I would say no, we need something far more evolved. It's time for that next step. Wonderful book, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. equally applies to women. He said, we are motivated by three things. We can be motivated by pleasure, by power, or by purpose. Our character and the character of society depends on what percentage each of us are motivated by. So I would urge you to think from your life perspective. Yes, money is important, pleasure is important, so is some power. How you want to split the 100% across these three Ps is really your call, and it will change over time. But lastly, this is a quote from his book. He said, in the concentration camps of Auschwitz during World War II, we watched and witnessed some of our comrades behave like swine, while others behave like saints. Man has both possibilities within himself. Which one is actualized depends on decisions, not by conditions. I think individually and collectively, if we can make better decisions, we solve climate change, we solve sustainability, we solve all the problems, including mental health and so on that we have. If we do not make the right decisions individually and collectively, then we do not. And therefore, I think sustainability indeed is a spiritual journey, because the ability to think like we are part of a whole and be responsible for the whole, ultimately the essence to me of what it means to live a spiritual life. Thank you very much.